Hey Living Waters family, Drew here with one more Soul Care Saturday video. By now, many of you have already seen the announcement in the newsletter and on social media that Susan and I have made the decision for me to kind of step back from my responsibilities and role at Living Waters, at least in part. I'll still be on the teaching team and I'll still be a part of the community, but for the time being, I won't be doing and leading the Soul Care ministry or meeting with people individually. And I just wanted to come on here and talk just a little bit about that decision-making process for us and just sort of what it means for the church and all that stuff, as if I'm that important. So years back, my wife, Suze, many of you know and love, got a chance to speak at Fight Night. And she gave a word at Fight Night that came back to help in our decision-making process. And to sum it all up, it basically was this. When you're looking at your life and you're looking at the choices you're making and whether the grace of God is on your life in a particular season, you had to look, instead of like, am I doing everything in balance? Instead, you look at what season am I in and what is the terrain? When you put it like that, like if you were wanting to plant a crop and you decided to plant a crop in the middle of winter, that would be a wrong decision because it's just not going to work. Or if you were planting a crop that relied on a particular type of soil and, fertile, wet, loose soil, and you were trying to plant it in the middle of the Rocky Mountains, probably not also going to get much of a harvest. The basics of that is that when you're trying to do what you're supposed to be doing, you need to look at the season and the terrain that you're in, and you need to acknowledge it so that what you're putting your effort to actually have good fruit and good return. Because in some seasons, you're supposed to rest and not plant. In some seasons, you're supposed to reap a harvest. In others, you're just supposed to do nothing. It's just an interesting analogy. But when we were hitting this last season of our life, this last couple months, for me, it was beginning to be really, really difficult because, as many of you know, with the COVID response, like all my kids are home and I'm homeschooling them, kind of half homeschooling. Well, with Bailey, it's like all homeschooling. And, as many of you also know, I have another full-time job, which is the director of my ministry, A Living Letter Ministries. And trying to do all those things, including Living Waters, I just was being left with a constant feeling of failure and constant feeling of not doing enough and not seeing productivity and not just being constantly frustrated and constantly exhausted. And it just, when I finally got to this spot of recognizing, gosh, it's not the season. Like, the season that I'm in is requiring Susan and I to make other choices that we've not made in a long time. And it's time to look at where we're putting our effort and what the Lord is actually calling us to. And so it was in that spirit that we began looking at what are the main callings on my life and what are the main responsibilities of my life. And it brought us to this very healthy decision to say, for this season, we have to take a step back. And, for many of you, sometimes when churches communicate that a pastor isn't on the team anymore, they're hiding something, but truly, there's nothing hidden here. We are simply looking at the season that we're in and recognizing that right now, the grace on my life isn't there to do all the meetings and all the soul care stuff and all that. Really, the focus of my life, as the Lord has revealed it in this last several months, is to focus on helping my kids get through the season and truly reinvesting and reinvigorating my first calling, which is A Living Letter Ministries. So that's the decision, and that's the process that we went on to make that decision. So in true spirit of Soul Care Saturday videos, I just want to encourage all of you to look at your life and look at where the grace of God is resting on it. And if you're struggling with different aspects of what you're doing and you're just not seeing breakthrough, you're not seeing ease, you're not seeing it's just not working for you, I would challenge you to look at your life and look at the season and look at your terrain and ask yourself if right now, if the things that you're committing yourself to, if the things that you are responsible for, and what God has called you to, if they align. Sometimes, for no fault of anyone's, it's just out of season. And sometimes the seasons have just changed, or the terrain, you moved into different terrain, and it's time to reevaluate. The healthiest thing in that is that when we make those decisions, we understand that our value and our worth does not come from what we do, but it comes from who we are and who Christ says we are. So I just want to encourage all of you to, if you're in a season maybe like me, like where I was, where things just weren't working and you're super frustrated and you can't figure out why, take a beat and just wait for a minute and say, okay, well, what's my season and what's my terrain? Outside of all that, I just want to encourage all of you, just because I'm stepping away does not mean that soul care does not exist or is not there and healthy and available for any of you that are struggling in this season, to reach out for prayer, for support, for help. Always reach out. Soul care will continue to go on, even, without me there, because it didn't rely on me to begin with. And it was, in one form or fashion was there before I came, and it will be there long after I'm gone. So I just want to encourage all of you to continue to reach out. There are people ready and waiting to meet with you, to pray with you, to encourage you on your journey. One last thing, Susan and I aren't going anywhere. Our family is not going anywhere. We love this community. We are in this community, and down the road when the season changes again, who knows, maybe I'll be back full-fledged on the team again. But for this season, where you'll see me most is occasionally on Sunday morning preaching the Word of God and welcoming people to whatever services we have, whether that be virtual, in-person, outdoors, or some new form that we have not yet thought of. At any rate, love you, my community. I'm so grateful for you, and I look forward to seeing how the Lord moves in this next season in my life and in the lives of all of you. Bless you all.